Start. You introduce yourself. My name is and what you do.
My name is Loren Cutler. I'm the president of the Hampton-Iona Community Group.
My name is Gary Ludington, and I'm the president of the Westboro Community Association.
So plans to fight the development as it stands right now with the convent and Westboro at the Ontario Municipal Board. I guess why has it had to go to this level, to the OMB, to fight this development?
Well, the city didn't honor the community design plan that we wrote in the secondary plan that they passed. So this is the next level of appeal, and yesterday was the deadline for filing the appeal, so that's why we filed at this time.
How hopeful are you that the appeal would be successful, Gary?
Well, I think we've taken the most positive position in that we will be successful. I think if you go into this with a bit of a negative feeling, you're not going to be too successful. So we did it because we felt there was I guess, room to see something be done about our community design plan and secondary plan.
And I think the main concern of your appeal is that you're not against development on the site, but it's the amount of intensification that this development is proposed to have.
We're not against intensification per se, and I guess that was the reason we did the community design plan, is to ensure that the development that did occur was in keeping with the neighborhood character. And if you take a walk down Richmond Road, the most recent stuff is what's high story. Everything else is maybe 2, maybe 4 stories at most. So, going to 9 stories is totally out of character with what's there now.
Yeah, 600 units, Loren. I mean, that's going to have quite an impact for traffic in the area.
Yes, it will. Even though presumably the city doesn't think it will have an impact. One thing that we discovered at the hearings is that city, when they measure traffic, is measuring the movements through the intersection. So if traffic is completely backed up, as it is every day on Island Park and the cross streets, the city is actually saying there's less traffic than there used to be because fewer cars are getting through the intersection in an hour. So absolutely. It's a ridiculous situation, and anybody who lives in the area realizes that.
Right. You were saying too that for the OMB to be successful, you need to put together a sort of a stable of people that can testify. What do you need, and how do you go about getting it?
Well, we're going to need, I guess the top of the list is a urban planner who can look at the secondary plan and match that to what has been proposed by the developer, and look at what was the words of the plan and what the intent was. We may also need people with architectural background, traffic background, the parks area, ideally also a lawyer who can conduct the case, because we know that the city is going to use legal staff and expert testimony.
And Gary, how do your two community associations work together to raise money to take this challenge for us, the OMB? As we know, it's not a cheap thing to do.
Well, I think that's our next challenge, is putting our heads together and seeing how this could happen. I guess the biggest thing now to find out is how this is going to be scheduled within the Ontario Municipal Board process. And as I say, the big challenge is us getting together with the rest of the community groups as well, and seeing how we can raise the money that needs to be raised.
But it's worth noting that when we had community meetings on this development, we had regularly upwards of 200 people showing up. There was a record amount of people who came to the planning committee meetings. 40 people signed up to speak. So there is widespread community opposition to this, and we hope that that will translate into fundraising.
So just two more questions. One being, a year from now, 5 years from now, what does the convent site in Westboro look like if you have your way?
Well, it will be developed. Ideally, we'd like to see the building along Richmond Road much lower, with views of the convent. There's been the claim the convent's been hidden behind a wall for 100 years. Well, that wall was 15 feet high. It's now going to be hidden again behind a 9-story building, which we hope won't happen. That there will be views, and that the property in the back, the heights of any buildings in the back will be keeping with the neighborhood, which is 3 to 4 stories, and that there will be a lot more open parkland on the site, and that the convent, ideally there might be some sort of public use in the convent, not necessarily an entire building, but the convent is going to be preserved. That Ashcroft has committed to, which is good. but the site be opened up to not just the Westboro community, but the entire city. It is a special site that we have very few of in this city.
Well said. And I guess the final question, just what's the next date on your calendar that you're circled with this OMB? I know you already said that you're still trying to figure out the process forward, but what's the next major development and when does that happen?
I think the next major development in this process, Ashcroft has already filed an appeal with the OMB over due process with the city. And as we understand it, there's some kind of pre-conference meeting sometime early January. We're not privy to that information any more than that, so it'll be interesting to see what happens with that and what comes out of that, I guess, because that's going to be within the next 2 to 3 weeks, I would think. So.
And the other big issue is the city, back in November, came up with a proposal that they would try to purchase a fair bit of the land south of the convent. They have to figure out a price. They have to negotiate that with Ashcroft. It may end up in an expropriation hearing. It may not. But the city also has to figure out how they're going to pay for it. And they have till the end of March to do that. And until that happens, we don't know how that will even impact on the proposed development.